Hello friends, I'm Shantanu, your coach, and now we are going to start a big chapter, that is tax planning and tax management. So first we are going to cover the part A of this chapter. This chapter is fairly big chapter and this is also very important from exam point of view. So let's see the study objective for this chapter. It means what we are going to cover under this chapter. Let's have a look at all the items of this chapter. First, we are going to discuss about the concept of tax planning. This is very important. This is the root. You have to understand the concept of tax planning. Then how tax is levied. Then the tax planning, tax avoidance and tax evasion. These are the three important terms, very important from exam point of view. We will discuss about this and the distinction between these three terms. First, let's try to understand the basic concept which is involved in this chapter. Every person in this world would like to earn as much as income as possible. जितनी ज़्यादा वो income कर सकता है, वो income earn करना चाहता है. But at the same time, he would like to pay minimum of the tax. Tax कम से कम pay करना चाहता है. So here the question is that whether it is possible for any person to earn maximum income and pay the minimum of the tax. This is possible under two situations. One is called evasion of taxes, where you want to show the less income. Although you have earned so much of income, but you are showing less income, or you are inflating your expenditure to show the less profit, and ultimately you are paying the less tax. Another approach is tax planning, where you are legally reducing your tax liability by taking the advantage of the tax law, by utilizing the various deductions, exemptions, rebates, all such provisions which are provided under the tax law. Now, if you talk about the tax evasion, it is illegal. It is not allowed under the law. It is not ethical to go for tax evasion. So, it is not ethical, it is illegal. On the other hand, if you see the tax planning, it is legally allowed under the law. So, it is legal as well as it is ethical. But between these two extremes, there is another practice which has been developed, that is called tax avoidance. So tax avoidance is basically comes in between the tax evasion and tax planning. There is a very thin border between tax avoidance and the tax planning. So you can say that tax avoidance is, although it is legal, but it is against the ethics. So in avoidance, we will see one feature of the tax planning, that is, it is legal, although it is legal, but it is against the ethics. When I say ethics, it means it is against the intention of the lawmaker. So if any person reduces his liability of tax as per the tax planning, it is fully legal, it is ethical. It means intention of the lawmaker was there to provide such benefit to the taxpayer. When we talk about avoidance, although it is legal, but the intention of the lawmaker was not to provide such benefit, but he is trying to get such benefit by hook or crook, by mending the law, not by breaking the law. And as far as tax evasion is concerned, it is totally illegal and against the ethics, that it is totally against the intention of the lawmaker. So under the tax evasion, you basically break the law. If this is the law, you are breaking this law. In tax avoidance, you are not breaking the law, but you are mending this law. You are bending and you are taking the advantages of loopholes which are there in the tax law. And in case of a tax planning, you are fully complying with the intention of the lawmaker and you are taking the advantage of the tax law. Another important thing you have to remember that in case of tax evasion, there will be a heavy penalty and prosecution on the person who is involved in tax evasion. On the other hand, in case of a tax avoidance, person is trying to take the advantage of the loopholes in the law. So in such situation, normally the government comes along with the amendment in the law to bridge that loophole. That is, government tried to remove that loophole with the amendments in the law. There are numerous court cases which were involving the concept of tax planning, tax avoidance, and tax evasion. And the court has stated that tax evasion is a crime against the society and it is punishable. Court also suggests that even the tax avoidance is a crime against the society, but it is very difficult to penalize or prosecute the person involved in tax avoidance because he is taking the advantages of the loopholes in the law. And tax planning is the best practice to reduce the tax liability because it go along with the intention of the lawmaker and it also help in the prosperity of the country. Now with this background, we are going to cover a big chapter that is called tax planning and tax management. Although it is very big chapter, but there are only few important concepts or point where you need to focus more. Now let's see the concept of tax plan. Tax planning is adopted to minimize the tax liability by using the various allowances, deductions, exclusion, exemptions which are given under the income tax laws. It means when legitimately one person reduces his liability within the four corners of the law, it is called tax planning. If a person adopts the colorable devices or tactics to reduce the tax liability, then it cannot be treated as tax plan. There was a famous case law of McDowell's and Company where Supreme Court stated that tax planning may be legitimate provided it is within the framework of the law. Colorable devices cannot be part of tax planning. Colorable devices का मतलब यहाँ पर यह है कि ऐसी प्लानिंग जो ऊपर से तो आपको ऐसा लगता है कि सब कुछ ठीक है, बट अंदर से अगर उसको आप देखें उस डिवाइस को तो इट इज नॉट एज पर द लॉ और इंटेंशन ऑफ द लॉ. दिस इज कॉल्ड कलरेबल डिवाइस. Further, the Supreme Court stated that the tax planning should not be done with the intent to defraud the revenue, that is, the government. There are plenty of judicial pronouncement which has laid down the principle that the substance and form of the transactions shall be seen in totality to determine the net effect of a particular transaction. So the Supreme Court stated in the case of B.M. Kharwar that the tax authorities are entitled and indeed bound to determine the true legal relation resulting from a transaction. And it says that the form and the substance of the transaction is the real test of determining whether it is a tax planning or tax avoidance. अब यहाँ पर जो सब्सटेंस और फॉर्म की बात कर रहे हैं कि ऐसा ट्रांजैक्शन आपने किया है जो ऊपर से यानी कि फॉर्म उसका ऐसा लगता है कि इट इज टोटली लीगल, बट अगर आप उसके अंदर झांक के देखें, इफ यू सी इनसाइड दैट ट्रांजैक्शन, then it is not as per the intention of the law. So if a transaction which is good in the form as well as in the substance, it will come under the tax planning. On the other hand, if a transaction look good at the top, that is form से वो ठीक लगता है, but if you see inside the transaction, then it is not good as per the law. Then it will come under the tax avoidance. Further, they says that the form of a transaction basically refers to a transaction as it appears superficially and the real intention behind such transaction may remain concealed. वो real intention ऊपर से नहीं दिखता है, ऊपर से वो proper दिखता है, legal दिखता है. And when we talk about substance of a transaction refer to lifting the will of a legal document and ascertaining the true intention of parties behind that transaction. So the bottom line is that whenever you check a transaction, there are two aspects. एक तो जो ऊपर से देखते हैं prima facie, it is called the form of the transaction, and the real intention is inside this transaction. It is called the substance of the transaction. So for tax planning purpose, both forms and substance of the transaction should be legal. That is, it should be as per the intention of the lawmaker. Now let's also see how tax is levied in India. Article 265 of the Constitution of India says that no tax shall be levied or collected except the authority of law. तो इसका मतलब अगर गवर्नमेंट कोई भी टैक्स रिकवर करना चाहती है, कलेक्ट करना चाहती है, लेवी करना चाहती है, तो सबसे पहले उसको लॉ बनाना पड़ेगा. And while making the law, framing the law, there can be different rates of taxes levied upon the nature of profession or business carried on, or depending upon the capacity of the person to pay the tax or other relevant consideration. यहाँ पर आप एक और principle याद रखना कि एक person है who is a rich person, so government can ask him to pay more of tax, and there is a poor person, the government may ask him to pay less tax. It means there is no violation of concept of equality which is mentioned under the Constitution of India. Further, they says that no income should be taxed on presumption. That is, on the assumption basis के ऊपर आप टैक्स नहीं लगा सकते किसी को, and there is no equity about the taxation. जो मैंने यहाँ पर कंसेप्ट बताया कि सभी को सेम रेट से टैक्स लगाए, ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. रिच पर्सन को ज्यादा टैक्स पे करना पड़ सकता है, पुअर को कम पे करना पड़ सकता है. एंड फर्दर दे से नो इनकम शुड बी टैक्स ट्वाइस. इट मींस वंस अ पर्सन हैज पेड द टैक्स ऑन हिज इनकम, द गवर्नमेंट कैन नॉट आस्क हिम टू पे अगेन टैक्स ऑन दैट इनकम. There was another case law of state of Tamil Nadu versus M.K. Kandaswamy, in which Supreme Court stated that there are so many factors which are very complex. Complex factors are involved in taxation. Thus, the liability of tax depends upon various factors like taxable person, taxable event, subject matter of taxation. Now, in our upcoming lectures, we are going to discuss about the distinction between tax evasion, tax avoidance, tax planning. Then we will cover the objective of tax planning. There are so many objectives a person can go for tax planning, like reduction of tax liability, minimization of litigation, productive investment, healthy growth of economy, and economic stability. Then we are going to cover essential of tax planning, then types of tax planning, where we will see short range planning, long range planning, permissive planning, and purposive tax planning. Then importance of tax planning, diversion of income and application of income. This is also very important. Direct question can be asked on this. Then areas of tax planning in the context of Income Tax Act 1961. So all these points we are going to cover here in this part. And then organization of tax planning cell. Then overall tax planning measures, legislative amendments, statutory force of notification, what will be the status of notification once it is issued. Then measures to phase out deductions as amended by the Finance Act 2016, that we are also going to see in this chapter. For more information, you can see the description of this video, or you may visit our website, that is cacscmacoach.com, to buy any lecture related to CACS or CMA courses.